So for your small shoe buns, we are going to go ahead and put our piping tip nozzle into our bag. And I am using a size 13 nozzle tip for the small shoe bun. So I'm just going to pop that in now. And I always want to make sure that it's in nice and taut, and then twist that end, tuck that in, so our shoe pastry won't go out. And then you can pop it into a jug or just over your hand to fill it up. So I have my prepared shoe pastry. You just want to make sure that it doesn't have any large air bubbles. I always like to kind of just go throughout there and just collapse any larger air bubbles. We also want to ensure when we are filling our piping bag that we're not adding big air bubbles either. So you can always like give it a good tap. Now over here we have a baking tray. You want to grab yourself a nice large baking tray. I'm using a half sheet pan, but just grab the largest baking tray that will fit into your oven. Now we want to line that with some baking paper. And I always like to clip it down just to ensure that, you know, if you do have a fan in your oven, it's not going to be flying around. And then on top of that, we have our air mat. Now these air mats you can get from a company called Silcomart. And what that's going to do is really give fantastic even baking for your shoe pastry, for your shoe buns and eclairs. So because it's got lots of little holes, it's going to allow the air to circulate very well. So it's going to help dry out your shoe buns from the outside and give good colorization. And yeah, so I really like those. Now on top of this, we want to spray just with a little bit of oil, just to make sure our shoe does not stick. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my scale here. Now I like to scale out my mini shoe buns. And it's a great practice also, because if we start scaling them out, then we start getting into that motion of understanding the size that we want to make. So I'm just going to tear this off. And so for the small shoe buns, we are going to make them around 8 grams. So around 8 to 10 grams seems to be the sweet spot. All right, so that's 9, that's fine. So anything between like 8 and 10 is fine. And we want to leave some spacing in between each one. So I like to leave about maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch between each one. And if you pipe a little bit too much, you can just just take off a little bit. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So look, it will take a little bit of practice, and you can see they're probably, the base of each one is probably about an inch wide, I suppose. We do want a little bit of height on them, so it is almost like a half sort of sphere sort of shape. So now I'm going to go ahead and just tap them underneath, just to ensure that there's no air bubbles, so we can release any of those. Now if we have any little tails on the top, you just want to go ahead and dip your finger in a little bit of water, and we're going to just sort of soften those. Now we're going to spray them again with some of our oil, and this is going to ensure that they won't crack as much. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of our confectioner's sugar, so that's going to give it a nice golden color, and again also prevent too much cracking to occur. And just a little bit, just a light dusting. So now you can get these into your preheated oven at 135 degrees Celsius for our first stage of baking. So we're going in with our mini choux buns now. I have my oven preheated to 135 degrees Celsius. And we're going to put our buns in for about 30 minutes, and we're just going to keep an eye on them, checking every 10 minutes or so. We really want to use this stage for all that steam to get inside and push against the walls of our choux pastry. We don't want to have too much color within the first, say, 15 minutes. We really just want to use this first baking stage to really allow that steam to expand and push our choux bun. So really do keep a close eye on them, especially for the first 15 minutes. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on these and come back. So it's been 10 minutes so far, and our choux buns are already starting to puff up nicely. There's no coloration on them just yet, which is perfect because we really just want to use this first stage of baking to just bake the choux and to really expand the size. So I'm going to continue cooking this, and we're going to check back in about 5 minutes and just see where we're at. So it's been about another 6 minutes, and I can see that they have puffed again. They've still puffed up, and we don't have much color on them yet, which is good at this stage. So I'm going to now cook them for another 5 minutes or so, and just keep an eye. If they're browning very, very quickly, then you can turn the oven down another 5 degrees. But otherwise, we are going to continue baking for the full 30 minutes at 135 degrees. Now I have a couple minutes to go, but what I noticed is my buns down the bottom have started becoming a nice honey color, but I do have a few up the top which are still quite pale. So I'm just going to turn my temperature down 5 degrees, so to 130, and I'm going to put another 5 minutes on here because I just want to ensure that the buns are fully cooked before we release the steam. If we release the steam now, my fear is some will collapse. So I'm just going to extend the baking time 5 minutes, but I have turned the temperature down, and yeah, after 5 minutes we can check these. Is up. So now we're going to go into the second stage. So I'm going to carefully open my oven door and just let that steam out. I'm just opening it just a little crack. Let all that steam out for about 5 seconds or so. All right, it's gone now. So now I'm going to quickly close my door, and we're going to program our oven to 145 degrees. And for about 30 minutes. And if you do have the option on your oven, you want to open the vent. If you don't have that option, that's totally fine. If you do have a fan in your oven, you want to turn the fan on. Okay, so we're going to get this started. The second stage of the baking is all about creating a nice deep golden color, and this can take anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes. We're just going to continually check it about every 10 minutes. Sometimes I do find looking through the oven, it can be a little bit deceiving. It tends to look a lot darker from the outside. So after like about 10-15 minutes time, I would recommend open the oven and have a good look in there. You might want to turn your trays around as well, just to make sure we have even colorization. But let's take a closer look. So we can see that they're starting to color, which is great. The ones down the bottom are definitely taking on a lot more color than the ones on the top. So yeah, we're just going to keep an eye on these and check back shortly. So it's been another 10 minutes and I'm just going to open my oven door because I want to check the color of them and see whether we need to rotate the trays. So as you can see, these ones on the right side are a lot paler. So I want to give them a rotate. And then these ones down the bottom are definitely getting some nice color. These ones need a little bit more, so I'm just going to turn that around. All right, so I'm going to get these back in for probably like another 7 to 10 minutes, and I think they should be done.